Alright, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel. Today I'm going to be doing my complete Prismatic Evolutions set review video, talking about the entire set, the best cards in the set, why they're good, all that good stuff. Also, going to be doing a bit of a buy list talk in this video, so if you're interested and you listen along, you can find out what the best buy list is for Prismatic Evolutions. This is effectively like a mini set, more of a collector set than anything else. There's also a lot of filler bulk cards in the set that are unfortunately very unplayable, but there are still playable cards in the set. Of course, we have all the brand new Eeveelution EXs, some new ace specs, new items, stuff like that, but it is more of like a mini collector set than anything else. But there are still enough decent cards in the set to talk about, and if you're interested in what you want to be picking up from the set, definitely listen along in this video to find out what the best buy list for Prismatic Evolutions is. And if y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're on the road to 19,000 subscribers. If you go on to enjoy the video, leave a like, and I'll leave a link to Justin Basil's site here, the site I'm using for the set list, down below in the description. So here we go, starting things off. Again, mini set, a lot of filler, a lot of bulk cards in the set, but there are playables. So we do this brand new Exeggutor that doesn't do anything. A lot of the cards are from a Japan starter deck, which is the issue. These starter decks usually tend to have bad cards. But we are going to get into probably, I mean, honestly, maybe the best card in the set, Budew, with the attack Itchy Pollen. Does 10 damage. During your opponent's next turn, your opponent cannot play any items. Budew has seen a ton of play in Japan. Of course, the Champions League was just this last weekend, and Budew was very popular. Budew is debatably the best card in the set. This is easily a card you want to be picking up 4 copies of when it releases. Honestly, you might even want more than 4 copies. You might want 8 to 12 copies of Budew. It's a fairly easy card to pull, I think. I don't think it's a rare. Well, it doesn't say. But I don't think Budew is a rare. Right? I don't think that Budew is going to be a rare. So if I were you, I would probably pick up as many Budews as I could, because you probably want to have access to Budew, because you're probably going to be putting it in a lot of your decks. So if you're somebody who builds a lot of decks for testing, you're probably going to need a lot of Budews. So I would probably pick up maybe 8 Budews at the very minimum, because it is just that strong of a card. It has made a massive impact in Japan. It's making a lot of Stage 2 decks popular, like Dragapult and Gardevoir, Charizard, are all able to abuse Budew. A lot of decks are playing Budew. So definitely a card you want to pick up. And yeah, just item locking is really good. This is probably one of the best cards in the set, because you're Budewing, you're stopping your opponent from playing cards like Generator, E-Switch, Rare Candy, just slowing down the game quite a bit. Like against Regigigas, if you Budew them before they play an Energy Switch, they are not Dragoing you right away. Against Charizard, you shut off Rare Candy, which is ridiculous. So like, just a very powerful card, and yeah, definitely a card you want to pick up as much as you can, because it's very popular. We do have a new Leafeon here. Nothing too crazy with that, but we do have a brand new Leafeon EX, of course. Yes, we do got our first EX here with Leafeon EX, a brand new Eeveelution EX. It's got 2 attacks. You got Fresh Leaf Storm, does 60 damage for each energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. And then you got the Terra attack, which does 230, and then you heal 100 damage from each of your bench Pokemon. So, Leafeon isn't bad. I don't know if this card works by itself. I think one of the main things with the Eeveelutions, albeit except for maybe one of them, they're kind of more of an Eevee toolbox deck where you're just playing them all together in one deck. So I don't think you're really going to get to build Leafeon by itself. I will say, though, if Dragapult is actually going to be popular in this new set, because Dragapult gaining Budew is a big deal for that deck, and Dragapult was extremely dominant at the Osaka Champions League, there's a world where Leafeon could actually be decent. Its second attack is not bad against Dragapult. You're healing a lot of the damage Dragapult does against you, mainly healing your bench from all that Phantom Dive, shenanigan damage. It's not a bad card at all. Definitely decent. I would probably pick up a couple copies of Leafeon, maybe like 2 or 3, just to have it. I don't know if it'll be its own archetype, but it's definitely not bad. I mean, the first attack isn't bad either, but yeah, I would definitely try to pick up a couple copies of Leafeon if you could. We do have a new Whimsicott here. I think it's new. Or it could be a reprint. Yeah, it's a reprint. It's from Temporal Forces. Same thing with Dipplin. Also, that's the thing. There's a lot of reprint cards in this set. A lot of older cards from other sets. I mean, they're not bad cards. Like, we got this Festival Lead Dipplin, which is a pretty playable card. But, yeah, it's a reprint from the Twilight Masquerade set. So, a lot of reprints in this set. Obviously, Flapple, Ogerpon are reprints. Ogerpon's a pretty good card to have in the set, though. It's obviously one of the best cards in the format right now. So, definitely not a bad card to try to pull. All right, we do have a Flareon EX here. Probably one of the best Eeveelutions in the entire set. It does have the attack Burning Charge. Does 130. You can search deck for 2 basic energies and attach them to one of your Pokemon. Not a bad attack, right? You want to use this card to power up your potential other Eeveelutions if you're building the Eevee box deck, or you can use Flareon with like any other Pokemon you can think of, because Energy Excel's not bad. It is a Terra Pokemon. It works with Sparkling Crystal. It only needs 2 energy. It's a fire type. You can play with Mela and Basin, and then you have the other attack, which does 280 damage. So not bad either. So yeah, Flareon is one of the better Eeveelutions in the set. Definitely a playable card. I would probably pick up a playset of these if you could, like get 4 of them, just because it is that good of a card. And you might play it in the Eevee box deck, or you might have its, own type of archetype, right? Building up any Pokemon is pretty powerful, right? So definitely not a bad card. Search Deck for Energy is really, really good. So yeah, Flareon is very strong. Definitely a playset is probably needed. Pyroar is a starter deck card, it's unplayable. Hearthflame, obviously a reprint. Slowking here. It's got the attack Forgive and Forget, which is 70, and then you put 2 energy, attach your opponent's active in their hand. I mean, that's an annoying attack, but, like, there's just too much energy excel for this probably to be that good. The more reprint stuff. There's a reprint of Goldeen, but we got a brand new Seeking here. Now, this is literally a brand new card with the Festival lead ability, where if you have Festival Grounds in play, this Pokemon can attack twice, even if you knock out that Pokemon. It's got the attack Rapid Draw that does 1 for 60, draw 2 cards. I mean, you're effectively drawing 4 cards because you're attacking twice. You can increase the damage quite a bit with the help of Max Belt or Choice Belt or Defiance Band, and honestly, the Seeking isn't bad. Now, I don't think the Festival Lead deck is, like, super good. If Dragapult is going to be popular, like, I don't think this deck is really going to have much of a place in the meta because it just kind of loses to Phantom Dive spam, but as a for fun single price deck, it's not a bad deck at all. So if you're somebody who wants to have fun, I would definitely try to pick up at least 4 copies of the Seeking because I think it's a really good upgrade to the Festival Lead deck. We got a new Vaporeon EX here with the attack Heavy Squall, does 60 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX. It's not affected by weakness or resistance. And then you have the attack Aqua Marine that does 280 damage once again. Vaporeon is one of the more weaker of the Eeveelutions. It does have a nice attack that spreads damage, but the problem is, like, if you're playing against, like, other decks using Terra Pokemon, the Terra Pokemon do not get damage by Heavy Squall, which is kind of the issue. I would probably just pick up, like, 2 copies of Vaporeon. It's really not the best Eeveelution. If you're playing the Eevee box deck, you're probably playing one of these at the minimum. Like, I just don't think this card is that good. Just pick up a couple copies of it if you can. Unless you're a Vaporeon and, collector, you want to get the Altar, go for that. But as, like, the normal EX, I would just probably go for 1 or 2 copies. It's not the greatest card ever. Seeking here isn't very good. We have a new Regice. I don't think you're going to be playing it over the other Regice we have in the format already if you're playing the Regi deck. Another new Glaceon, or reprint Glaceon, I should say. We got a Glaceon EX. All right, so we have another Eeveelution EX to talk about here. Glaceon does have the attack Frost Bullet, does 110 damage, does 30 damage to one of your opponent's match Pokemon, and then you have your other attack here. Knocks out one of your opponent's Pokemon that has exactly 6 damage on it. Now, this card does synergize with Vaporeon, because you can use Vaporeon's attack to put the 6 damage on to then KO it later on with Glaceon, or you can use Frost Bullet to, twice to put 6 damage on a Pokemon to then be KO'd. You can play this, obviously, with cards like Rain Alakazam and Dusclops, stuff like that, to put damage on the board. It's kind of okay. It could be decent by itself. I would probably just pick up 3 Glaceon just in case. I don't think it's really the most playable Eeveelution. It's just kind of weak anyways. Like, the first attack isn't doing a lot of damage. It's not a bad card. A little gimmicky, though. But yeah, picking up, like, a couple copies of it probably wouldn't hurt you. It's just kind of like, it's fine. Wellspring Ogerpon reprint. We got our first look at one of the EX Pokemon from these starter decks, and this Pikachu EX is pretty unplayable. It's not very good at all. It does do 220, but, like, just use Miraidon. It's just a better card that does 220. Then we got Jolteon EX. All right, this is definitely one of the better Eeveelutions from the set. Jolteon does have the attack that does 60 damage, and then you discard up the 2 basic energy from your bench Pokemon. It does 90 for each energy discarded in this way, and then it's also got that 280 attack. So this is definitely one of the more stronger Eeveelutions. Now, this card can be good within the Eevee box deck, but I can see Jolteon actually working by itself. That attack is really powerful. It's kind of like Raging Bull, where you just put energy on your bench via, like, Ogerpon or something, and you discard them, and you do a ton of damage. In fact, this Pokemon does 240 damage for just 2 energy max, which is honestly pretty good. 240 is the magic numbers. So yeah, Jolteon is a pretty playable card. I would probably pick up a playset of these, like get 4 copies of Jolteon if you can. I don't think Jolteon is better than Raging Bolt, but I don't think this card is bad at all. It's definitely a pretty playable Eeveelution EX, and it does work with, like, Ogerpon and stuff. It might not be as good in the Eevee box deck as it would be just by itself. So definitely not a bad card to pick up. I, like I said, would maybe pick up 4 copies of it if you can. Definitely not bad at all. Togedemaru, not very playable. Tapu Koko EX is, like, kind of playable. I would maybe just pick up 1 copy of Koko just in case. It's got the attack Thunder Connect, does 60 damage, does 20 more damage for each your bench Pokemon. It's a worse Raikou V, obviously. But you know what? If Miraidon's going to survive rotation, maybe you want to play a Koko in your deck over a Raikou, right? Because Raikou's gone, right? So we'll see. Probably just pick up 1 copy of Koko, maybe 2 just to be safe. We got a new hands in the set. Obviously, Alolan Marowak here does have the attack Retaliate, does 30 damage, does 90 more damage? I think so. Yeah, 90 more damage. Yeah, not really that playable, though. New Espeon here. Doesn't really do anything crazy. It's got that attack cycle Assault is 30 plus 10 damage for each damage on your opponent's active, but it's kind of just mid overall. But we do have a brand new Espeon EX, which does have 2 attacks. You got Psych Out, does 160 damage, discard a random card from your opponent's hand, and then your Terror attack, I think, is where things are interesting. You de-evolve each of your opponent's evolved Pokemon by shuffling the highest stage evolution card into your opponent's deck. That is not bad at all. Shuffling the highest stage evolution back in is really strong. It's a better version of Devo. Devo puts cards back in the hand, which sometimes allows your opponent to still get the evolution back out on their following turn, where Espeon just says, nah, bro, you're going back in the deck, so now you have to refine those cards. But the problem is the attack is very costly. It does require a lot of energy requirements to do it, which is the issue. I don't know, Espeon's fine. Again, this probably works better in an Eevee toolbox deck. Probably pick up 2 copies of this card if you can. Dusknoir, of course, can be in the set. And then, of course, we got a brand new Aromatisse, isn't playable. We have a new Sylveon. Now, this card actually isn't that bad either. It's got that safeguard ability where it's immune to Pokemon EXs. Now, it's not immune to V, or not immune to V Pokemon, but you know what? When rotation comes, V's are gone anyway. So just wait a couple months, and this card actually is pretty good. It's basically going to be like Mimikyu, has more health than Mimikyu, and does more damage. The problem is you have to evolve it from an Eevee. This card is probably decent, though. Like, I would pick up at least a playset of Sylveon if you can. Like, get 4 copies of this card. It's not a bad card at all, especially when rotation happens and Vs rotate. Sylveon EX does get a reprint in this set. We do have a new Oricorio, nothing too playable there. Mimikyu. This is a new card. It's got the attack Mischievous Hands. Choose 2 of your opponent's Pokemon and put 3 damage counters on each of them. I mean, it's okay for a spread attack. It's kind of underwhelming. There's better spread cards in the format, right? Just nothing too crazy. I would argue the Uxie from Surging Sparks is better than Mimikyu EX. It's more just new unplayable cards, not really that good. New Alcremie X, however, is decent. It does have the ability Sweet Gift. Once you're in turn, you can heal 50 damage or 30 damage from one of your Pokemon. So if you have a bunch of Alcremies in play, you get to heal a lot of damage. Now, the nice thing with Alcremie is obviously against a deck like Dragapult, healing damage isn't too bad at all because Dragapult spreads a lot of damage. You can heal some of it with Alcremie EX. And again, the ability to stack, you can have multiple of these in play. I mean, I guess pick up a playset of them just in case this card somehow sees play at some point in the future. It's not a great card by any means. It's kind of weak. 250 HP is a little low. But you know what? The ability is like not that bad. Healing 30 damage isn't bad. It stacks. So maybe pick up a playset just in case this card ends up seeing some play. Just in case. Lucario EX, unfortunately, isn't very playable. Hippowdon, not very playable. We have a new Toedscruel. It's definitely a decent card. It's got the ability Forest Path. As long as this Pokemon's on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 colors less. Now, this card could be cool with the other Toedscruel in the format that blocks like Pokestop and Regigigas V-Star, though that card is going to get a lot weaker with rotation when we lose Pokestop and Drago V-Star. Still stops Night Stretcher, stops Superior Retrieval, which is not bad at all. And if you're going to be playing that Toedscruel, you might as well play this one. Like in a deck like Goldengo, having this Toedscruel can be pretty cool because you use this Toedscruel to like retreat your Goldengo and do like double coin bonus in the active spot, something cool like that. Not a bad card. Maybe pick up a couple copies of it when it releases. We got Sandy Shocks, new Koraidon here. It does have the attack Revenge Buster. If your bench Pokemon have any damage on him, does 120 more damage. I mean, fighting Pokemon don't have a great energy acceleration system. I guess on the off chance this card somehow ends up being good or playable at some point, maybe just pick up like 1 or 2 copies of it. New Quagsire EX isn't very good compared to the other one. New Umbreon here. Isn't very good either. We do have a new Umbreon EX, however, which could be decent. Now, obviously, this is going to be the most expensive card in the set, as it's Illustrator Rare Alt-Art version, but the normal version isn't any good. It's got the attack Moon Mirage, does 160 damage, and you confuse your opponent's active. And then you have the attack Onyx. This is probably going to be the main way Umbreon sees play. Discard all energy from it, and then take a prize card. So, it's interesting. I don't think it's very good. I mean, the attack is just so costly. The first attack is also extremely mid. I mean, Confusion isn't the worst thing ever, but it's not really a reliable attack. And I think Umbreon overall is just very mid. I would still pick up 2 copies of Umbreon X. It's like still like a decent enough card to play in the Eevee box deck, but it's not really the most playable card of the bunch. Honestly, it could be one of the weaker Eeveelution EXs, I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah, pick up like 2 copies of it. If you're trying to get the alt art, go for that too, I guess. So it's probably going to be the money card of the set. New Houndoom, nothing crazy. New Tyranitar is not very good. Bombardier is not very good either. New Bronzong here with Protection Bell. All of your Pokemon take 10 less damage from attacks. Yeah, I mean, the ability to stack. I guess pick up a playset of this. I don't think the card is very good. I don't really know there's any deck that's going to play this, but if there is, definitely maybe get 4 copies of it. You put 4 Bronzong in play, you take 40 less damage, which is kind of funny. New Heat Ray, not very good. We do have a new Zacian EX here, which isn't very good either. I'd probably wait for the Hop Zacian EX to come out in the next set in March. Yeah, it doesn't really do anything special. It's not a very good card. I guess you could play it in Metang, but like it's just not that good. Zamazenta's better. Let's see here. We do have a new Eevee EX. Now, this is definitely going to be a good card to pick up for the Eevee box deck. It's got that ability, Rainbow DNA. Once during turn, if you have a Pokemon EX in your hand that evolves from Eevee, you can put that card onto this Pokemon to evolve it. But you can't use the ability during your first turn or the turn this Pokemon was put into play. But that's still a decent ability, right? Now, Eevee EX isn't bad in the Eevee box deck because not only can it turn into an Eeveelution EX, so it gives you like even more like Eevee out, but also you can use Glass Trumpet to the Eevee EX before you use the ability to evolve it, and then you can use Trumpet to put the energy onto the Eevee to then power up the attack cost. So this is like maybe where like something like the Espeon or the Umbreon can actually succeed because you can put the energy onto the Eevee with Glass Trumpet before evolving it. So that's kind of the way I think Eevee could see a bit of play. Obviously, pick up 4 copies of this card. You know, it's pretty decent for the Eevee box deck. New Snorlax is very good. New Hoot Hoot does have 80 HP, but you can't Poffin for it. So I don't think Noctowl decks are going to really play that card, unfortunately. New Lugia isn't very good. Kecleon, not very good. Tropius, not very good. Just a lot of bulk cards. Again, they're from the starter decks. But one card that I definitely think you want to pick up is Regigigas. It's got the attack. Jewel Break does 100 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is a Terra Pokemon, you do 230 more damage. That is ridiculous. This card just flat out says, knock out Charizard EX, knock out Dragapult EX, knock out Hydreigon EX. Pretty dang good card. Now, this card is going to be very strong in decks like Lugia. So I would probably pick up at least 2 to 3 copies of Gigas. Like, Lugia can play 1 or 2 copies of this card. And, you know, there are other decks that might run it. Lost Box could play it, obviously. Yeah, a lot of decks could play Gigas. I would probably pick up at least 2 to 3 copies. I guess pick up a playset. I don't think there's any deck that's going to play 4 Regigigas, though. Like, it's strong, but it's not knocking out other Pokemon like Pidgeot and Rotom and Fez. It's only knocking out Charizard and Dragapult. It's a very specific card to use at a specific moment in a match, but it's still a very good card. So pick up 2 to 3 copies of it. It is a pretty strong card. If you're somebody who's been playing a lot of Lugia and Lost Box, I mean, this card's a great upgrade to your deck right away. All right, let's see here. We do have a new Minccino. This actually could be optimal. I've seen some of the Lugia lists in Japan playing this Minccino in their Lugia deck. All it does is 20 damage. It's got 70 HP. It might be better than the other Minccino we already have in the format. Just 20 damage can sometimes fix the math in weird scenarios. Probably a card you want to pick up 2 copies of for your Lugia deck. Just saying. All right. Let's see here. New Noivern EX isn't very playable. Greedent, not great. Oinkolone's not good. All right, we got new supporters here. So we got Mary's, draw 4 cards. At the end of your turn, if you have 5 more cards in your hand, discard your whole hand. So, very niche card, but drawing 4 cards is pretty strong. That's a lot of cards you get to see. The problem is you have to make sure you play your hand down after playing this card, or else you got to get rid of your hand. I don't think this card is great. I guess pick up like 4 copies of it just in case some kind of archetype ends up playing it. I don't think there is a deck that'll play it, but on the off chance there is, it's a niche enough supporter where I'm like, okay, maybe just have 4 copies of it just in case somehow it ends up seeing play at some point. Maybe. All right, Black Belt's practice is pretty good. During this turn, attacks used by your Pokemon do 40 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. Now, that's like a better version of Kieran. Kieran does 30 damage, but this card does 40 damage. Now, you obviously don't get the added benefit of like having a free switch with it, but Black Belt's practice is a fairly strong card. A lot of decks actually will get value out of this. A deck like Charizard, I think, is really going to like having Black Belt because Charizard's already a deck that likes to do that extra damage, and Black Belt will probably see a bit of play within a deck like Charizard. Yeah, pick up a playset, I guess. Just have 4 copies of it just in case you want to build multiple decks with Black Belt. This card is very strong. There's a lot of other decks that obviously could get value out of Black Belt. Again, I think the main one is probably just Charizard, but there's a lot of other cards, and any other card that comes out in the near future might want to play Black Belt in their deck. So yeah, pick up a couple copies of it, pick up a playset. It's a pretty playable card. There are decks out there that will probably play Black Belt's practice. We have actually a few artworks of it, too. Maybe it'll be easier to pull if there's all these different artworks of it. It's probably going to be a rare, though, in the set, to be honest with you. Like, look at all these. Holy moly, there's so many versions of it. Bro, it never ends. All right, Poffin's getting reprinted. Glass Trumpet's in this set. We have a new berry here, Habanberry, which I think, what does it block again? Dragon Pokemon. So yeah, when it's on a Pokemon, it takes 6 health damage from dragon attacks. Probably the most playable berry we have. Berries haven't really seen a lot of play, but there's a world where maybe this card does well. I mean, it blocks Raging Bolt, Regidrago, and Dragapult from doing a lot of damage to it. That is not bad at all. You know they discard it after they get the hit, but I mean, this card isn't bad against stuff like Drago and Dragapult and Raging Bolt. It actually can make a difference in those situations. I mean, maybe have a couple copies of it just in case somehow somebody plays it. It'll probably get weaker, though, when rotation comes, because Drago rotates. I know Raging Bolt and Dragapult will still exist, but Drago is probably one of the main instigators of the format, and this, is pretty good against Drago in theory. All right, Larry's skill here. Discard your hand, then search check for a Pokemon supporter and a basic energy, and put them in your hand. Kind of reminds me of, like, Peony a little bit. Is it better than Peony, though? It doesn't get an item, which is kind of the problem. If it got an item, this card would actually be pretty cracked. I think it's very mid. It's just not as good as Peony. I mean, buy it if you want. I'm gonna say pass on this card. I don't think it's very good. But maybe get it just in case. But it's just a worse Peony. If it got an item card, this card would actually be a lot better for sure. Next up is the A-Spec card, Max Rod. Now, this card is pretty strong. Put up the 5 of any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard back into your hand. Now, that is pretty good. Being able to put Pokemon energy back in your hand is definitely a strong effect. But there are decks that definitely can use this. I think the main one is going to be something like Goldango EX. Is this better than eSearch Pro, though? Is the question. I'm not too sure. I would definitely pick up a Max Rod just in case it sees play at some point. It's definitely a card you want to have. It's a fairly strong A-Spec. Just really depends on what deck is actually going to use it. Put up to 5 Pokemon and energy in your hand, like I said, can be strong. And there are decks out there that can abuse this. Of course, like Goldango is probably like the main deck that's going to want to play this card. All right, let's see. We got a bunch of research reprints here of the different professors. So depending on what professor you're a fan of the most, you're probably going to like it. So yeah, we got all these artworks here of research, rescue board, another new A-Spec here, treasure gadget. Search check for up to 5 Pokemon tools and put them in your hand. I mean, I guess pick this up. It's not a very good card. I don't know many decks I want to play it, but I mean, I guess you want maybe 1 copy of it just in case it sees play. Putting 5 tools in your hand isn't terrible. The only deck that really wants to play it is like Rotom V-Star. Like any like tool drop style deck, there's a Garbodor in the format. There's an Electrode from 151. Those are the only decks that will play this card. It's very mid. Just not a bad card to pick up. Like if we ever get an actual like good tool drop deck in the future, you probably want to have this card. So just have it just in case. It's probably not going to be very good, but just pick it up just in case. It'll probably be really cheap anyways. All right. I think that's most of the new cards. We did skip over Blaziken EX, I think, though. Let me scroll back up. Was Blaziken in here? Give me a sec here. Where was Blaziken at? Blaziken was not in here. All right, hold up a sec, folks. All right, there's a couple more cards to highlight here that weren't in the set list here for some reason. But yeah, the first one I want to talk about is Blaziken EX. This card is going to be coming out in the new set. It does have the ability Overflowing Spirit. Once your turn, you can attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon. Pretty good ability. This card actually has been seeing a decent amount of play in Japan. It also has 320 HP. It's a pretty bulky EX card. It's actually fairly playable. Even its attack for 2 energy, you do 200 damage. I mean, it's not a bad card at all. This is probably one of the best EX cards from the starter decks. Probably is the best EX, actually, from the starter decks, period. Definitely not a bad card to pick up for sure. Yeah, just got a good ability. There actually are a lot of ways you could play this card. A lot of decks could use energy acceleration, so definitely pick up 4 copies of Blaziken if you can. It's a pretty decent card. It's not bad at all. I don't think it's like super broken. Probably not going to be very meta, but it's a pretty good card. And maybe at some point in the future, this card will actually be playable. So I would 100% pick up 4 copies of it. Will it ever be a card that ends up being a staple in the meta? Like a lot of decks will play it. Maybe try to pick up like a couple playsets of it if you can. I guess there is a world where at some point this card actually could be very strong that a lot of decks actually end up playing it in the meta. Like it'll be a meta staple. So just in case it does happen, maybe pick up like a bunch of copies of it. But I would at least pick up a playset, but just in case, maybe get like 12 of it. It's probably going to be cheap, right? And we have a new Lilligant here. Not a bad card either. Sunny Day. Each of your grass and fire Pokemon's attacks do 20 more damage to your opponent's active. Not a bad card either. More damage is more damage, and more damage is pretty good. So Lilligant is not a bad card. I would probably pick up a playset just in case. I don't think there's like really a deck right now that'll play it. Like maybe, I guess like Sarah Ledge could use it. I don't know. It's not a bad card though. It's fine, right? Torterra EX probably is one of the better cards actually that'll play Lillian. So yeah, man, pick up like a playset just in case. Nothing more. Just it's not a crazy card, but not a bad card to have a playset of. I think that's about it. Yeah, there's new Dialga. It's not very playable. I guess if you want to pick up this card, go ahead. It's not the greatest card ever. It's just kind of mid. But Dialga V-Star is literally a better card from a Tang. But yeah, I want to mention Blaziken real quick, because Blaziken is like a legit, very strong card I would want to pick up a playset of. But yeah, there you go. That is my complete Prismatic Evolutions buy list and set review in today's video. Again, it is a bit of a filler set. It kind of just pads out until we get the next set in March with all the trainers Pokemon. So we do have a bit of ways to go. We still have 3 months until the next main set comes out. There's enough new content, hopefully, in the set to thrive us until March. We'll have to see on that one. Pokemon's got to stop doing this, but it is what it is. Hope you enjoyed the set review. Let me know what your favorite card in the set is. What is your favorite chase card in the set? I would be interested to hear down in the comments below. There's a ton of illustrator rares and stuff to look at within the new set here, which I guess we could maybe look at some of them. But I don't know, if you're somebody who's looking to pick up a bunch of the like illustrator rare cards, you know, definitely could be a good set. There's a lot of them in here, right? We got, let me just shrink this a little bit. We got the Palafin, Wellspring, Ogerpon, Jolteon. I know the Eeveelutions are going to be the big one. Obviously, the Umbreon is going to be the big card you want to pick up from this set. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, what is your desired chase card going to be? I'm really interested in picking up the Iron Hands. I probably want to get Sylveon. I'm a big Sylveon fan. Roaring Moon's art is nice. Goldengo's good. I'm a big Goldengo fan. We actually have another artwork for Dragapult. Dragapult's a card that's really good that doesn't actually have like a good full art. It's got the full art like white background, but there's no like actual like full art of it. So I'm definitely interested in picking up Dragapult too. Raging Bull's gonna be pretty cool to pick up too. The Blood Moon is sick. This is another card I definitely want to pick up at least a couple copies of. So there's a lot of playable cards in the set that are getting illustrator rares, right? So definitely pick up a few of them. Obviously, this is going to be the most expensive card in the set. If you can pull it, I mean, sleeve that up, send off to grading, I guess, you know, unless you want to play it for whatever reason. But let me know what illustrator rare you're most excited to pick up for sure. Let me know in the comment section below. And let me know what your favorite card from the new set is in the comments below. And I'll leave a link to Justin Basil's site here that I used in the description if you want to go check out any of the cards for yourself. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. And I'll catch you on another video. Bye-bye.